All right, you guys, so Battlefield 2042's got some news we have to talk about. We got a brand new leak for the new map Exposure that will be releasing in Season 1. We've got some news about the player count numbers for Battlefield 2042, and we're also going to talk about some features that were removed from the game prior to its release. Hey, what's up, everyone? Wes here. Welcome back to another Battlefield 2042 news video. And to get started, we're going to talk about a new tweet from Temporal, who is an industry leaker primarily tailored to the Battlefield franchise. And they just posted a tweet today that showcased the first look at the new map Exposure. They said, and I quote, "First image of the unreleased Battlefield 2042 map Exposure. They don't have any high resolution images available, but the lore recap states this. It's set in Canada, British Columbia. A landslide has exposed a secret research facility, and Russians suspect a military weapon inside." Temporal then went on to say that Exposure seems to be a part of Season 1. They also stated that this is a preview of the unreleased content based on data mining. There is no guarantee that this will make it into the game. So from first glance, it looks like it is in the Canadian Rockies, but it looks like a wide open map with really no cover, which is essentially every single Battlefield 2042 map that there is. I'm really hoping that the underground research facility that the landslide exposes is either a live action event that showcases a landslide that then grants you access to the underground facility. And furthermore, I really hope that facility is not something that's super small. I want it to be a vast underground facility. I'm picturing Operation Locker where there was like the snowy topside, and then once you go inside, there's a bunch of narrow pathways that made the map for a super fun experience. So if the new map Exposure does one thing correctly, it's that they utilize more of just the topside area that's super open. I think the one thing that Battlefield 2042 needs in terms of maps is more infantry focused maps that are close quarters, urban cityscapes that actually have buildings throughout the map rather than just on the outskirts. And just overall, we need maps that are not just close quarters. We need maps that have stuff and structures in between them so we can traverse around the map without having to worry about being destroyed by other vehicles or targeted by 128 players that are shooting you in a field where there's little to no cover. Next up, guys, I'm giving away a copy of Battlefield 2042 and a PlayStation 5. To enter, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter, post your Twitter handle in the comment section. The winner will be announced at 55,000 subscribers. Now, moving right along, we're going to talk about some features that were removed that I would love to see return with Season 1, as well as in this new map Exposure. So according to leaker and industry insider Tom Henderson, a summer of 2020 presentation of Battlefield 2042 contained earthquakes, fire tornadoes, and volcanic eruptions, but due to lack of time, they needed to just focus on the Twister. He then went on to state that also post-launch plans for the title are completely screwed. So everything I said about the post-launch plans before the game was released, and to just ignore it. So now that we know that Battlefield and the Frostbite engine can render out earthquakes, maybe that's what's going to be in the first season of Battlefield 2042. What if they're holding off the fire tornadoes, tsunamis, and other volcanic eruptions for later maps throughout the game's life cycle? As we know, the map Exposure was caused because of a landslide, but what if an earthquake is what actually triggered the landslide? I'm not saying that's full confirmation, but it seems pretty interesting, especially after the 2020 presentation actually showcased earthquakes. The question that I've got is whether or not these dynamic weather events are even worth doing. It seems like they take up quite a bit of development time, especially considering the fact that they were only able to finish the Twister. So would that time have been better spent by fixing the game and making sure that content plans are actually going as scheduled? I certainly hope that that's the reason that they only focused on the Twister. But then again, if the Twister took so long to develop, why didn't they just cut that as well to focus on finishing up the development for the Battlefield game that they were making? At the end of the day, they're working on a first-person shooter, and that should be their main focus. Do I think the dynamic weather adds more immersion to the game? Yes, it does. But I would much rather have a working game that had plenty of content. I'm sure they'll be able to turn things around and make the game look as beautiful as possible in the future. But with the addition of 128 players in larger maps, I could see why their only option was releasing it with the tornadoes. Furthermore, one thing that I would love for them to do in a future Battlefield title is to focus on the core experience first and then do all the pretty stuff later. And I know it's different teams working on different aspects of the game, but still, I just think that their main focus should have been on the core experience. Moving right along, we've got some news regarding the Battlefield 2042 player count, as well as some news regarding how the free-to-play weekend actually went. So according to Tom Henderson, they stated this on Twitter: early signs indicate that Battlefield 2042's free weekend seems to have increased the game's player count by roughly 8 to 10%, varies by the hour. He stated the Steam numbers looked like this: December 21st at 12 a.m. there's 13,000 players, and then December 12th at 11 a.m. there's 12,000 players. He then went on to state if the numbers are similar to the actual data that I saw in late November across all platforms, Steam makes up around 19% of total players, so there are probably 65 to 70,000 players playing Battlefield 2042 at the moment, which which to me does not seem that significant, especially since the game launched last month. I think my biggest concern with Battlefield 2042 is the fact their content schedule is not yet fully fleshed out, or at least that's how it's perceived to me. I'm sure the developers' main focus right now is making sure they get the game fixed and then they'll start adding new content. But if the leak that we talked about before that stated the season 1 release date was March of 2022, I don't know how many players are going to continue playing the game until March. But it's also worth mentioning that that is just leaked information. We don't have full confirmation of when season 1 could start. We might enter the new year with information that season 1 starts in February or even in January. We have no idea yet. There's not been full confirmation from DICE or Battlefield. So until then, it's really hard to speculate. But what I'll say right now is if March of 2022 is indeed the case, then the developers fixing Battlefield 2042 might be the least of their worries. But guys, that's going to wrap it up with today's Battlefield 2042 news video. Guys, if you want to win that PlayStation 5 and a copy of Battlefield 2042, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and comment your Twitter handle. The winner will be announced at 55,000 subscribers. Also, do me a favor and leave a like on this video, and don't forget to check back again tomorrow for another Battlefield 2042 news video.